The true identity of Jesus has been covered up, hidden, and forged. The true identity of black people have been covered up, hidden, and forged. This is identity theft, and it is criminal behavior, performed by a thief, one that works behind the scenes, lurking about in the shadows, trying to be inconspicuous, a thief that does theft on a grand scale, a thief with very deep pockets, a thief with the tactical behavior of stealing the truth, hiding the truth, embellishing the truth, lie about the truth, and will kill to maintain the lie about the truth. The behavior of this thief is criminal behavior, punishable by law. We will begin our search for truth by traversing the course of that which has been covered up. As we traverse this course, we will do so with the endeavor of uncovering the covered. There are three races: black, white, and a mixture of black and white. We will endeavor to answer these questions without any bias, but with the soundness of truth.
Well, if you make the assumption that the human race arose like around the equator and the skin color, dark skin color would be the phenotype, then are you assuming that as people moved outward, there was a mutation, and if you were in the north, it allowed that mutation to live, which is how we got white people?
Yes,
Would that follow?
Yeah. If Nina Jablonski, who spoke at another one of your things, explained this, and she played a role in studying the reason for dark skin, which is if you have lots of intense sunlight, it destroys folic acid, and it turns out folic acid is really important for babies to develop properly, so it's not too good for a population for the babies to not develop properly. So that's why dark skin. Now, as you move north, there's another essential vitamin called vitamin D. There's an intermediate, biochemical intermediate, that needs to be then converted by the liver, but that intermediate's formed by UV light going through the skin. If you're near the equator and you have a dark skin, it still gets through enough to get your vitamin D.
But more than that, let's go to biology and let's go to science. And let's look at the human organism. And let's look at the role that the sun plays in the lives of the human organism. And let's look at an organism that is born in a very hot climate by Glosier's law. Glosier's law says for an entity to be able to survive as organic life, it has to be born in a warm and temperate zone. In this warm and temperate zone, the human family born in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania.
It is imperative that we understand the importance of melanin. Black people secretes melanin from a functioning pineal gland, whereas white people secretes none to very small amounts of melanin from a calcified pineal gland. Melanin is produced by the oxidation of the amino acid tyrosine. Some of the different types of melanin include eumelanin, pheomelanin, and neuromelanin.
And the concept of melanin is, it is black in its nature. And we find it in the cosmos, we find it in the heavens, we find it in water, we find it in land, we find it in everything that exists.
Scholars and scientists have been having conferences about melanin, to my awareness, at least since the 1920s. These scientists said that the pineal gland, they refer to the pineal gland as a vestigial organ, that is a calcified gland within the body that served no purpose, as if the creator would create something that you didn't need. And it was only after the Vietnam War, in the late 60s and early 70s, that they began to rewrite their interpretation of the pineal gland. The reason for that was that a large number of African Americans fought and died during the Vietnam War. And whenever a soldier dies, there's an autopsy that's performed before their body is sent back to Dover Air Force Base. And what they discovered, what these physicians discovered, is that when they performed the autopsies, the 75 to 80% of the African American soldiers had a large functioning pineal gland. The pineal gland is normally about the size of your thumb. So it was not a vestigial organ in 70 to 80% of African Americans, but it is a calcified organ in 75 to 80% of people with European ancestry. So they began to reevaluate the pineal gland.
So this is a complex molecule. It's found in the brain. It's found in your adrenal glands. It's a powerful free radical scavenger. In other words, it helps the body prevent this oxidation, so it's an antioxidant. Melanin may play a much bigger role than just absorbing all this radiation, and when you get it into your body, it actually has a major effect on your immune system. It protects genes and it actually repairs broken DNA. Isn't that wonderful? Something breaks down because you're exposed to chemicals or radiation. Think of the people of Japan right now in 2011 who are suffering from huge amounts of radiation. What could we do to help them prevent cancer developing? Well, you need a DNA repairer, and that's what melanin does. It exists in many other tissues, as I mentioned. It's actually a very important molecule in any woman who's having a baby, because the fetus has all this melanin in it.
The sperm of the male and the egg of the woman, they're both layered with melanin, so that when the sperm penetrates the egg, there is a melanin explosion. And that melanin helps to formulate the fetus within that egg. And that fetus is literally coated with the melanin substance. That melanin substance then goes on to form the brain and the central nervous system. So every human being begins with a melanin explosion.
In steering things in the body, in the whole regulatory system, melanin's role in embryological organization, that's in the baby's organization, and tissue repair and tissue regeneration, may be connected to the major role that it plays to balance the body. That's called homeostasis. Here's a picture of a baby at 35 days of pregnancy, and this is the eye of an embryo. Notice that the eye is pure melanin. That's an amazing picture, isn't it? To see all this melanin is inside, and when the embryo first forms, there is what's called the dark streak. It's all melanin.
It is the dynamic, the primary dynamic in every part of the cell. It's a primary dynamic in the core of the human being as well as to the surface of the human being. Its intelligence is responsible for the forming of the nervous system. Every part of the nervous system has these little black dots all through it, which essentially carry information.
The body is actually a communication system where everything is connected to everything else, and it works through light. It works through light. It's called biophotons. And in this communication system, cells have connections to other cells called integrins, and electrons and light flows between cells. So it's like a supercomputer. In fact, there's somebody even studying whether energy is directly absorbed from the melanin in your skin and transformed into energy in your body. And it's thought to be, by some people, a master molecule that actually steers how the body communicates.
Melanin is vastly important to the development and proper functioning of living organisms.
White people can't be equal to black people because they can't produce melanin pigment. And that's the basis upon which they operate. You see, so again, platitudes and all of that's good, but it doesn't have anything to do with the reality, the specific reality that has caused a problem for people for 500 years plus. The word white, when it refers to human beings, means genetic deficiency, mutation, genetic deficiency, inability to produce melanin pigment. It means tiny minority on the planet.
The word albino is from the Latin albus, and means white. Europeans are albinos, derived from the Dravidian Indians. They are also from Africans carrying haplogroups I, E, and J, among others. Everything mentioned thus far about melanin is in reference to eumelanin. Eumelanin is found in black people. It is black and brown. This is the good melanin, found in skin and eyes, and it comes from the amino acid tyrosine. There are 7 types of oculocutaneous albinism, 4 of which are of interest, the other 3 are still under research. Most tyrosine mutations eliminate the activity of tyrosine, thereby preventing melanocytes from producing any melanin throughout life. Many white people try to deny the fact that they are albinos, but the symptoms of albinism are clearly visible. One of such symptoms is whiteness, others are blue eyes, gray eyes, hazel eyes, red hair and skin, straight hair, and the inability to tan. Head lice is common in Caucasian, Hispanic, and Asian people than in black people. Caucasians have a history of picking lice out of their hair, which is where the phrase "nick-picking" comes from. The word human is a compound word consisting of the words "view" and the word "man." By definition, to be human is to be a colored man. Now let's go back to the questions asked earlier. Claiming Jesus to be white is to say he suffers from various genetic mutations, hence a mutant, and he has OCA, among other genetic disorders. Claiming Jesus to be olive, or admixture, is to say he comes from black and white genes, has dominant and recessive genes, and he suffers from various genetic mutations, hence a mutant, and he has OCA, among other genetic disorders. Claiming Jesus to be black is to say he functions normally, his pineal gland produces eumelanin, which causes normal bodily functioning, and his hair is not straight, but is a tight curl, like wool. After viewing the mutations and disorders of white and admixture, it is very clear that Jesus cannot be such. After viewing the mutations and disorders of white and admixture, it is very clear that it's only logical that Jesus is black. Olive color is admixing, it is the result of mixing black with white. To have olive color is to have a European ancestry and a black ancestry. In order to have olive color, it is necessary to have a European ancestry and a black ancestry. Since such is the case, then how is Jesus olive color when God used Mary only and not Joseph? Joseph's seed was not used, so how is Jesus olive color? There was no admixing in the genealogy of Mary. Since there was no admixing in the genealogy of Mary, and Mary is not admixed herself, then how can Jesus be olive color? Keep in mind, God did not use Joseph's seed. It is clear, the black man, hair, color, and texture, resembles the color and texture of wool. The white man hair texture does not resemble wool. It is very clear that black people hair, color, and texture resemble the color and texture of white snow. White people hair, being a genetic mutation and defect, is the same as animal fur. In Hebrew, Laban means white. The Hebrew word nabal is Laban read backwards, and it means fool. Whiteness and admixture, with all of their various disorders, defects, and mutations, makes it nonsensical to claim that Jesus is white or olive. It is tantamount to taking stupidity to a higher level. Melanin is more than the price of gold. Melanin exists as liquid, solid, and gas. Melanin is in black people in abundance, and it is found in the soil and in space. In the booklet, Global Patterns of Linkage Disequilibrium at the CD4 Locus and Modern Human Origins, researchers found out that more DNA sequences indicates levels of intelligence. They found out that some apes have 5 DNA sequences, and Caucasians, Chinese, Japanese, Mediterraneans, and all who are not black have 6 DNA sequences. They also found out that black people have 9 DNA sequences, putting them at a level of intelligence far above all other people on Earth. After looking at melanin, the evidence for it, its role as an organizing chemical, and its importance for life and proper functioning, and its importance for the universe itself, we can only conclude that Jesus is black and it cannot be otherwise.